Here we are going to see about infancy and characteristics of infancy period. A child goes through the various stages of life such as infancy, childhood, adolescence, adulthood and lastly old age. The first 2 years of an individual's life are the time of his most rapid development. Although every child develops at its own rate, each grows up in an orderly and predictable patterns. Infancy is the first period of life and is very much sensitive period for a child. This period starts from birth to 2 years. Here we are going to introduce to the concept of infancy period and physical, psychosocial, cognitive and linguistic aspects of development. You will also be able to understand the characteristics of infancy period, its adjustment and some physical and psychological hazards during the infancy period. Let's see the definition of infancy. The first stage of anything, the beginning or early period of existence as the infancy of an art. The behavior and ability of 2-year-old children are different from that of older children. The 2-year-old children can eat, cry, move, babble, play, kick and smile. The 2-year-old children has the absence of qualities such as ability to speak, to act with intention, to reason, to be self-conscious and to experience the emotion of guilty, empathy and pride. Psychologists like Egmont Freud, Erik Erikson and Jean Piaget highlighted a different aspect of an infant because each was loyal to assumptions that were part of the larger cultural context in which they lived. The characteristics of infancy period are as follows. The infancy period is the shortest period of whole lifespan development. It starts from birth to 2 years. This is the time when fetus comes into the world from the mother's womb where he lives almost 9 critical months. Adjustment is equally important to the infant as he has to adjust with the outer surrounding. Most of the infants complete with adjustment period in 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks. In infants whose birth has been difficult or premature require more time for adjustment. Infancy period is a plateau in development. The growth and development which took place during the prenatal period suddenly comes to a stop with birth. Infant loses weight after birth. It less healthy compared to what it was at the time of the birth. At the end of this period, infant again starts gaining a weight. Bell Argue suggested that infancy is a period of future prediction. We can start some future prediction about the infant. Some activities show the prediction of development. It is a preview of later development. Infancy is considered a period full of hazards in terms of physical and psychological adjustment. Physical adjustments to the new environment is difficult for the child. The attitudes of the family members create more difficult situation for the infant. Psychologically, the attitudes of significant towards the infant gets crystallized. This attitude changes from one stage to another. Now, what is physical development? Cephalocaudally means the development that takes place from head to tail and proximodistally means from trunk to extremes. The first year of infant is characterized by rapid physical growth. A normal baby doubles its weight in 6 months and triples in a year. During that time, there is a great expansion of head and chest, thus permitting development of brain, heart and lungs, the organs most vital to survival. The bones, which are relatively soft at birth, begin to harden and the frontlines, the soft parts of the newborn skull, begin to calcify. The small one at the back of the head at about 3 months. The larger one in the front at varying ages up to 18 months. Brain weight also increases rapidly during infancy. By the end of the second year, the brain has almost reached 75% of its adult weight. Growth and size depend on environmental condition as well as genetic endowment. For example, severe nutritional deficiency during the mother's pregnancy and in infancy are likely to result in an irreversible impairment of growth and intellectual development, while overfed, fat infants are predisposed to become obese later in life. Human milk provides the basic nutritional elements necessary for growth. However, in the Western cultures, supplemental foods are generally added to the diet during the first year. The newborn infant sleeps almost constantly, awakening only for feedings, but the number of length of waking periods gradually increases. By the age of 3 months, most infants have acquired a fairly regular schedule for sleeping, feeding, and bowel movements. By the end of the first year, sleeping and waking hours are divided about equally. Now let's see about psychosocial development. Psychosocial development is a development of a person's understanding of the environment they are living in and figuring out how that relates to them, their behavior, and others. To put it in even simpler terms, it is learning about yourself through your surrounding and other people. The theory of psychosocial development is given by psychoanalyst Erik Erikson. It is perhaps one of the best ways to understand the psychosocial development in infancy period. He describes the impact of social experience across the whole lifespan, and it is one of the best theories of personality. Erikson has characterized infancy as the period during which the child develops basic and long lasting expectation about his world. The central idea of Erikson's psychosocial stage theory is the development of ego identity. Ego identity refers to the conscious sense of self that we develop through social interaction. According to Erikson, our ego identity is constantly changing due to new experience and information we acquire in our daily interaction with others. Erikson also believed that a sense of competence also motivates behaviors and actions. Each stage is concerned with becoming competent in an area of life. If the stage is handled well, the person will feel a sense of mastery, which he sometimes referred to as ego strength or ego quality. If the stage is managed poorly, the person will emerge with a sense of inadequacy. Erikson also believed in each stage, people experience a conflict that serves as a turning point in development. These conflicts are centered on either developing a psychological quality or failing to develop the quality. During these times, the potential for growth, personal growth is high, but so is the potential for failure. The psychosocial theory include stage 1, trust versus mistrust, that's between birth to 1 year. The first stage of Erikson theory of psychosocial development occurs between birth and 1 year of age and is the most fundamental stages in life because an infant is purely dependent on their family members. The development of trust is based on the dependability and quality of the child's caregiver. If an infant successfully develops trust, he or she will feel safe and secure in the world. Caregivers who are inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, or rejecting contribute to feelings of mistrust in the children they care for. Failure to develop trust will result in a fear and a belief that the world is inconsistent and unpredictable. Trust and mistrust is the main feature of infant development. A sense of trust requires a feeling of physical comfort and a minimal amount of fear and apprehension about the future. Trust in infancy stages sets the stage for a lifelong expectation that the world will be a good and pleasant place to live. The infancy stage focuses on the infant's basic needs being met by the parents. If the parents expose the child to warmth regularly and dependable affection, the infant's view of the world will be one of the trust. If the parents fail to provide a secure environment and fail to meet the child's basic need, a sense of mistrust will result. If proper balance is achieved, the child will develop the virtue hope, the strong beliefs that even when things are not going well, they will work out well in the end. Failing this, maladaptive tendency or sensory distortion may develop and the malignant tendency of withdrawal will develop. What are the other types of social behavior? There are so many other types of social behavior which are discussed here. One is attachment. A newborn baby in arms is the greatest feeling of motherhood. An infant always seeks love and attention from mother and he cries to be picked up, fed and otherwise stimulated and often as not he cries when put down. At 6 weeks, infant will smile at his mother face and grasp his cloth. At this stage, infant can recognize their caretaker and his faces. He needs mother's and father's attention towards him. This early attachment is called indiscriminate. The infant seeks stimulation rather than any particular person. The concept of attachment is investigated by Ainsworth and her associates in 1978. It was defined as an emotionally toned relationship or tie to the mother that led to the infant to seek mother's presence and comfort, particularly when the infant was frightened or uncertain. This indicates that all healthy infants have healthy and strong attachment with their caretakers, and this strong bonding provides the basis for healthy emotional and social development during their later childhood. Number two is smiling. Smiling is a means of communication for infants in early years. An early smile of infant is just a facial exercise of the muscles. A child first passes his smile to his mother, and this is at first bestowed indiscriminately between the mother and the child. The smile is an important influence on mother child relationship. The mother's responsive smile is equally important to the child. It transforms the interaction. The social smile appears at 7 or 8 weeks of age, and by 3 months, infants will smile almost any face. This smile is important to the caretakers and the child because it invites adult to interact with the baby and therefore contributes to the attachment of bonding. 3 is anxiety. As we all know that mother and child relations is important in infancy period, the child first recognized his or her mother face and infant is aware that mother is special person at this time. He is he is at once in a position to lose her. An infant around 10 months may be seen crawling behind his mother from one room to another room. If mother is disappearing, he may be cry and scream and watch every door. Even his crying and searching at different places is an indication of attachment with the mother. The increase in attachment behavior is considered to be an indication of separation anxiety. Fear of strangers. A second anxiety that is direct result of the infant's first attachment is stranger anxiety. The child is specially attached with the mother and he can be easily upset by the approach of an unfamiliar adult, especially if his mother is not present around. The infant fixes his eyes on the stranger and stares, unmoving for a short time. He is likely to cry and show the signs of distress. Stranger anxiety disappears towards the end of the first year as the child comes in contact with a growing number of relatives.